Hi. So we're going to talk about comparatives and superlatives during grammar study this week. So we're going to start out with the comparative form of adjectives. And so if you will check out my screen share, put it on my camera for you. All right. So we're going to start out by talking about comparative forms of adjectives. So we're going to go ahead and write our name at the top. And we're going to go ahead and we'll do the first four together, and then you guys are going to do the last four on your own, and we will correct them. Okay? So a comparative adjective compares one person, place, or thing to another. To form a comparative adjective, you can usually add ER to the adjective. So let's go ahead and highlight that. If the adjective ends in a Y, change the Y to I before adding ER. Oops, there go my lights. So if you're comparing two things, and this is kind of how I like to remember it, if you're comparing two objects or things or people, you're going to add, okay, so I kind of remember it with a giant number 2. If you're comparing two things, then you're going to add ER, okay? So here's an example. Josh is tall. Jacob is taller than Josh. So we added an ER to the adjective because we're comparing two people, Jacob and Josh. Jacob is taller than Josh. The weather is dry today. The weather is drier today than yesterday. See how dry would have a Y? And they dropped the Y, added an I, and then added ER. Okay? All right, so we're going to write the comparative form of the adjective in each one of those boxes. Okay, so here we are on the line. So here we go. I think that spring feels warm than winter. So we're going to add an ER to warm, warmer. My dog seems hungry, but your dog looks probably hungrier, right? And because it ends in a Y, we're going to drop the Y, add I and ER. So far, so good. Maddie is short, but Cindy is, we're going to do short, shorter. Her song is lovely, but I think your song sounds, and we're going to do lovelier, but we're going to drop the Y and add an I. And then we're going to add an ER. So we end up with lovelier. All right. Some comparative adjectives are formed by adding the word more. Usually longer adjectives form the comparative this way. So we would say, let's do these together because they're a little bit different. So we won't worry too much about doing them separately. So Joe is more polite than Henry, or you wouldn't say politer, you would say more polite. So if you have a long adjective that has a lot of letters, then you're going to add more. So look, we have miserable, efficient, comfortable, delicious. Those are all long. So we're going to write, Sally felt more miserable when she knew she had the flu. You wouldn't say miserabler. That company is more efficient than its competitor. You wouldn't say that company is efficienter than its competitor. Will you feel comfortabler sitting here? No, you would say more comfortable. Tonight's dinner tastes deliciouser than last night's. No, you would say more delicious. Deliciouser. All right. So hopefully you learned a little bit about comparative adjectives. When we're comparing two things, we just add an er, or if it ends in a y, if the adjective ends in a y, we drop the y and we add ier. If you have a long adjectives, then we don't add er. Instead, we say more in front of the adjective. Okay? All right. So hopefully this helped you. We're gonna it's gonna get a little more complicated on the next grammar lesson. No, I need my evil plan hands. All right. So hopefully this helped you, and hopefully it won't be more difficult for you tomorrow. All right. Thanks for joining me.